Hey, ladies and gents, and welcome to episode 21 of the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything happening in the industry. As always, I'm joined by the Tennessee Titan, Jordan Jarvis.
Oh, g'day, mate.
And, I don't know, the Great Lakes Bandit. I got nothing. The Dom.
Hello, Governor.
I can't think of anything.
It's your boy, Jiggy.
The Michigan Man. That's all right. So, getting into what we've been playing, it was actually a pretty slow week for me. I didn't really play anything new. Played some Overwatch, played some Smite.
Whoa.
Huh.
We're in a new dimension, Jared. I think we should
Oh, yeah.
we're
First ever video podcast. If you're seeing this is the beta. Might not work. We might have to work on some stuff. But if it all works well, you'll be seeing the video portion on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on SoundCloud or iTunes or wherever you catch the podcast, check it out on YouTube or video podcast now. Well,
this is pre-alpha game footage, so
don't be judging us. There may be a jetpack or two. You don't know. So
unless we're just ugly, then there's really nothing we can do. You might as well judge.
Yeah. Getting into what we've been playing, like I said, it's been a slow week for me. I haven't played anything crazy. Played Overwatch and Smite as usual. A couple of games of gold that came free this week were Tumblestone, which was like an indie game that released, and Tron Evolution. I never watched the movie, never played the game when it came out on 360, so I don't have any impressions of that. But I did play Tumblestone, and wooey, is that a hot pile of garbage. It is.
Tumblestone.
It is not great. It's mindless entertainment, and I don't even think it's entertainment. It's a puzzle game. It's a puzzle game that like is reverse Tetris, if that makes sense, of like, or I guess Bejeweled or like Candy Crush would even be a better comparison. Like there's blocks on the screen and you have to do certain patterns to get things off of the screen. The character animations are not great. The map is like a Mario World map, but it's not well done either.
Damn.
It's not a very good game.
Is it an overflowing dumpster outside on a hot New Mexico summer day?
No,
Jesus.
It is definitely playable. It's salvageable, but it's not anything crazy. Like it is what it is. It's a game that you play when you don't feel like playing anything else. Like I was playing it listening to a podcast. Like I like playing games that I don't have to pay attention to too much. So yeah, it's all right. It's not great by any means. I've also been watching. I like
the name at least.
Yeah, it's Tumblestone's a cool name. It just was not very good. Watch Stranger Things. I'm 2 episodes from finishing it. Great show. Came out today of recording that the creators said they were heavily inspired by Silent Hills, the video game. So that's pretty cool. You definitely see that in the monster design of the show. So it's pretty much it for me. What about you guys?
Just a lot more Skyward Sword and Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Nothing really exciting. But unlike the weakling that Jared is, I sat through the entirety of Stranger Things. Literally in one sitting. I got up one time to go to Walgreens and get Twizzlers and came right back and finished it. All 8 episodes.
Hey, I've said before I don't like binge watching things. It's not my thing. I'm not that type of person. I wasn't built like that.
I agree.
Yeah, no,
I agree.
I'm just pulling your leg, but I usually don't do that.
That is
was
insane
weird. It was
to me.
my Sunday. Me and Emily just plopped down and thought, well, let's try
Oh,
this.
she watched it?
Just,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
She was real into it.
That's awesome. We're definitely going to do a review discussion when we all finish it. Dom's done. I'm 2 episodes away, and Jordan's halfway through, right?
Halfway through, yeah.
So how far are you in Syndicate? Are you pretty far?
Not
very. You've just been dabbling with that in Skyward Sword?
Yeah, I've mostly been playing Skyward Sword. I mean, in Syndicate, I just got the grappling hook, or whatever they call it.
Oh, okay.
From your boy, Alexander Graham Bell.
Cool little side note before we get into what Jordan's been playing. I was reading a list of the top 12 games on Xbox One, and Jordan, you'll be happy to see that Assassin's Creed Syndicate was on that list.
Hell yeah, it was also, in the top 10 when it came out on PS4. So
yeah, that's awesome. So
people still love Assassin's Creed, no doubt about that.
Yeah. What have you been playing, Jordan?
So, unlike the weakling Dom, who succumbs to peer pressure and binge watches everything like such a mainstream fish that he is. Since we're throwing shade,
Wait, it's this.
I like to take it slow and easy on these television and film shows, and with Stranger Things, I am halfway through. I really love it. I think I was telling you guys beforehand that it's totally up there in the upper echelon of Netflix shows like House of Cards and Daredevil, which kind of think Orange is the New Black has fallen out of in the last couple of years, unfortunately. But yeah,
easy. This past season of Orange is the New Black was the best by far.
Okay, I've been teetering on that, dude. I can't figure out if I want to go back for. I didn't watch season 3 either, so I'll have to go back to that.
Yeah, 2 and 3 are not good. I'm not really that into it, but season 4, like,
I only watched I only watched season 1 and I liked it. I haven't gone back to watch 2 or 3, but yeah.
So really enjoying Stranger Things. Didn't play much games this week at all. Like I went several days without playing, but I did finish Walking Dead season 2, which was way better than the first season in my opinion. There's plenty of stupid characters, but for the most part, I think they're way more interesting, and the story's better, and the decisions are better, and Clem's an awesome protagonist. Can't wait for season 3. So, finish that up.
Walking Dead season 2 spoilers. Tune out if you haven't finished it. Who'd you kill at the end?
Yeah, so I definitely killed Kenny. I accidentally got that spoiled. I got that spoiled because I was looking up. I thought I recognized the Jane voice actor, and it was Christine Lakin, who was on Step by Step in the 90s and appeared on the Game Over Greggy show. So I looked up who was the voice for Jane, and ended up seeing, did you kill Kenny or Jane on like some forum on Google. So yeah, and which is like weird that I got spoiled off of Jane voice actor, Walking Dead Jane voice actor in a Google search.
I killed Kenny too, so
yeah, dude, he became such a dick. Like, everyone loses people, dude. You can't just be an asshole.
So I killed Kenny too, but then when I found out that Jane had actually just hid the baby and didn't actually lose it, I was like, oh wow, I wish I hadn't killed Kenny. You're a manipulative bitch. Like,
no, I like that because she wanted to show that Kenny was a crazy bastard. Yeah.
Also, I wanted to kill Kenny since season 1. Just to be honest with you, I did not like that character from the beginning.
Shout out, that's the voice actor of Zeke in Infamous.
Yeah, he's a cool character. I didn't like him from the beginning, so I was like, finally, I can get rid of him.
Dude, I love Jane. You guys don't watch Fear the Walking Dead, do you?
No.
That show was terrible, and I just caught up with it. It's halfway through season 2, and it's awesome now. I don't know how the fuck they turned it around, but anyways. One thing characters I love in The Walking Dead are the ones that kill zombies and then put the zombie guts on their body to make them smell like zombies. And obviously Rick and Glenn did that in season 1. Then Jane does it in the game. And there's a dude who does it a lot in Fear the Walking Dead. So those are the type of people I love in Walking Dead. I want people who are like badass survivors instead of like, oh, woe is me, all these zombies, I don't know what to do. Like, you're in this world, figure it out.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, besides that, I finished up Entwined. Short game, like I said last week, but kind of fuck this game because it's pretty damn mediocre. I didn't really love it at all. It was like, I think the controls, I didn't play it on PS4, it was all Vita, but it is like cross-buy, cross-save. I think they might have been better on PS4 because it didn't seem like they were really good at the sensitivity of the Vita sticks. Like, they didn't develop that fully, the devs. So, the Vita sticks are obviously very different than the PS4 sticks. So, I wish that game had been a little bit better. The music was cool, the visuals are cool. But yeah, kind of lackluster. But finished that up, got the trophies and all that. And then, like I said, hadn't been playing many games, so been reading a shit ton. Been catching up on Walking Dead and Invincible, and I'm about to read Walking Dead 75, so that's getting real good.
Awesome.
And reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire still, so about to finish that up.
Sweet.
Fun fact. As a kid, I was not allowed to read Harry Potter books.
I had a lot of friends like that.
So that's a funny history there. I was like...
Don't know why.
My family was kind of weird on it. Like, the preacher that we went to, at the church we went to, said that he was like, son of Satan and all this stupid shit. And then we went, like, half of my family went to see the movie and then half of them didn't. And then ended up reading the book and I was like, damn, dude, like, there isn't a bunch of devil shit in this. It's just a book.
Yeah.
So
So let's get right into the news here. The first story, I want to start off on a more somber note, and then we'll go on to all the cool news, but I wanted to talk about it because it is important. So this comes away with Game Informer. Kyle writes about pro skier Matilda Rapaport died during a promotional film shoot for Ubisoft Steep, which is coming out later this year.
Rest in peace.
And they basically stated, we are deeply saddened to learn the death of Matilda Rapaport, the remarkable Swedish free skiing athlete. During a video production in Chile on Thursday, July 14th, Matilda was caught in an avalanche. Despite the medical care and treatment over the subsequent days, it was not possible to save her life. Matilda's courage, passion, and desire to share the sport she loved with the world served as an inspiration for other athletes and for all of us. This tragic accident has deeply touched us. Our hearts and prayers go out to her husband and her wider family at this difficult time. So, it's unfortunate news. She seemed like a super awesome extreme sports person. That stuff, there's never any safe bets with that stuff. You got to be on your guard 100% of the time.
Yeah. And
I'm pretty sure they took all the necessary precautions, but I mean, you can't predict nature. That's just the way it works.
Yep.
And I really hope that they do something really cool in the game for her. Pay tribute to her in some way. Maybe have like some kind of in memory thing at the beginning of the game. Maybe have her as I think it'd be awesome if she was on the cover of the game. That'd be really awesome. I don't know. I just think they can turn this into a positive somehow.
That would be really cool if she was like the cover athlete, even though this isn't really a cover athlete type of game.
Yeah, I think just to pay tribute to her and have some kind of legacy there, like, I think that'd be really cool. I mean, she isn't super involved with the game. She was only doing a promo shoot, but she is involved because she's a free skier, and this game is all about extreme, like, snow sports, right? So I think paying tribute to her in some way would be really awesome for her family and just for all of her fans and for her as well. So, unfortunately, our condolences go out to her family, and that really sucks. So on some, I hate to switch it so drastically, but on some really awesome news, if you haven't been paying attention to Kickstarter, and if you're not familiar with System Shock is essentially the game that got BioShock into what it was. System Shock was the first in that series or in that franchise, and people love that game. I personally never had a chance to play the game. It's a pretty old game, but people love it. They say it has the atmosphere. It has basically everything people love about BioShock, the original BioShock. System Shock had that first, but technology was able to make BioShock, make that vision a little bit better. The cool thing is there's a team, actually, Night Dive Studios, is working on a remake of System Shock for current-gen consoles. And they have a really good team. Their team has worked on the original System Shock, so there's some familiarity there. Thief, the original Thief that everyone loved. BioShock, BioShock Infinite, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim, World of Warcraft, PlanetSide 2, Star Trek Online, and Warcraft 2. So they have a team that has a lot of experience in games. And the really cool thing is, so this was originally only going to be coming out for Windows and Xbox One. But they actually got such a fervor of PS4 players saying that we want this on PS4, obviously. And they actually immediately stated that they were overwhelmed with the response, and it's coming to PS4 the same day it launches for Xbox One and Windows. So it's awesome for them listening to the fans.
Hell yeah.
They're trying to reach a goal of 900K. They're over 1 million. They're 1.1 million right now. 6 days to go, over 17,000 backers. It's really cool. They had some interesting stretch goals. They didn't have a lot of them. I think they're playing this really well. And people are wondering why this is kickstarted. This is just a game that I think a big publisher wouldn't even want to even try to remake. I don't think they understand the importance to people, and it doesn't. I don't think this is a game that could get published. That's the easiest way to put it. These are the type of games that I am the most comfortable with through Kickstarter. They aren't the new IP that no one's familiar with, but it's a really cool idea. So there's basically no promise there. You don't have a connection with that studio, or that studio doesn't have a connection with an audience, and you're not sure if they're even going to have the product be made. Games like this, where it's a team, kind of like the Ukulele team, where they're teams that have worked on games forever. They just want to make a game that nobody wants to publish, kind of like Bloodstained or Ukulele in this. I think it's a really cool avenue. These are the games I like seeing kickstarted. So
yeah.
Are you guys excited for this, to play System Shock? I am. I heard this game was fantastic, and I never got a chance, so...
I'm getting interested in this because being a huge BioShock fan, I'd always heard about System Shock and System Shock 2 being kind of the spiritual successors to, or predecessors, I should say, to BioShock. And obviously, I think Ken Levine worked on System Shock 2, so creator of BioShock series. Yeah, I've always kind of heard about them being connected to the BioShock series and thought, it would be cool to go back to the roots of one of my favorite
Also,
game
the
series.
concern people have is it's such an old game. Can they make it for modern times? Go play Doom that came out this year. That'll answer that question for you.
Oh,
Like that. This game came out in
That's what's up.
1994. If they can do what id did, which they're not id obviously, but they already have like gifs and like early work that they have of the game, and it looks gorgeous. It looks really cool. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited to hear the music because BioShock, even Infinite, I really like the music that they put into those games, and I'm interested to see how this goes. So they're obviously hit their Kickstarter, and good luck to them. Any words on System Shock, Dom? Are you excited? You want to play this?
I have my watchful little eye on this game because I love BioShock 2, so I'm curious what the story is here. What's the deal with this System Shock?
Yeah, I think this is
kids are calling it.
This goes back to something we talk about almost every week of like sometimes old games are hard to play. Like you should go back to play old games because they're basically pillars in the video game industry and as it grows. But like sometimes old games are hard to play. So if they can get remade for modern standards, but they still keep that feel of the original, and the heart. So we'll see.
Sometimes I will say it's interesting to go back to old games that are difficult to play because of the old controller support or whatever it may be. But it's also kind of in some ways important as a gamer if you're really into it because you kind of see where we've been and how far we've come and how much better controls have been. Like think about how controls are great today. Controllers are great today, and it really hasn't always been that way,
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's if you're willing to do that, it's necessary, but it's not something you should have to like.
Sure.
Kill yourself over.
You don't need to do that to get your gamer card or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But it is. I do agree with you. It's cool to see it because, for instance, like with Dom going back to play the original Zelda, it gives you an idea of where things are now in comparison and how things change. So.
Yeah.
The next story here, the Xbox One S arrives August 2nd, this being the 2 terabyte model. It's coming a lot sooner than a lot of people anticipated. They said August, but people didn't know it was going to be this soon. This is obviously the first week, the second day of August. Cool thing, pre-orders are still available for it. It's the slimmer, sleeker one. For me personally, I'm not even interested in buying it just because of Project Scorpio. The funny thing is that I was actually thinking about getting this until I heard about the trade-in program for Scorpio. And I was like, there's literally no need for me to buy this now because I'll just keep this old Xbox One traded in for the Scorpio. But I was actually thinking about buying this just because it's a slimmer model. And I don't need another Xbox One right now. It's not really more powerful. But we've had these things since like launch or close to it. It sounds like a jet plane sometimes. It doesn't run as good as it can. It's kind of in that state where as much as Red Ring sucked, it was good getting it. For me, most of the time I didn't even get it replaced. I got a brand new console, and like a brand new console runs way better than one that's slightly used or even a little bit used. So,
well, it may run like a jet plane, but the Xbox 360 really sounded like a jet plane. So,
yeah,
never forget.
Yeah, and it's not always, but it does run like a console I've had for 3 years.
So you're definitely thinking of upgrading to Scorpio. Big boy. I mean,
it's not a. I guess it is a definite. It's a. I am doing it.
Okay.
It's a for certain. I'm getting Project Scorpio.
Maybe not day one, but you're doing it.
Oh, it might be day one.
Okay.
So couple things with this. Isn't it kind of weird that on August 2nd the 2 terabyte version is up for sale, but that's all we know? I mean, why wait another week or however long?
So people will spend more money.
Odd.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, you advertised it as $300 and then people go to the store and it's $400. I don't know. It just seems a little weird. I don't know. And this whole thing, I think it was odd that they announced Scorpio this early still because that's what everyone's saying is like, well, I'm not going to buy the 1S because I'm going to wait for Scorpio, which is fine if you're going to, buy Scorpio. They still get your money. But
I agree with you there.
It's for new people. Like I feel like it's more for people who don't have an Xbox One at all yet might pick this up.
I think they're better off. I don't think the Scorpio announcement was a mistake or it was early. I think maybe them having both of them in the same show was. See, the thing is it's like a two-way street of like. So if they didn't talk about Project Scorpio and they announced this and people bought this, then people would be super mad next year when they announced Scorpio. I think they should have announced Scorpio and then maybe just played off the Xbox One S afterwards, right? As like a footnote at the conference later on. I think the Scorpio is definitely the more important of the two because if they just announced the S and then people buy it this fall and then they hear about another Xbox One next fall, they're going to see. At least both of them are out there and you can make the decision either way instead of only knowing about one and getting jaded with the other. So
either way you go, you risk. Some people aren't going to be happy.
I think the best solution was announcing both of them because if you pick one over the other, I think it'd be a worse crap storm essentially.
Jared, you said you're definitely upgrading. I guess you don't really care that you don't have a 4K TV, right?
No. So
you're just kind of doing it for like the better processing and stuff like that?
Yeah, better gaming experience. Plus, like I said, I could just use a new console.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus, and if I'm going to buy a new console, I'm not going to get the Xbox One S. I'm just going to get the Scorpio. So
almost certainly the next TV you buy will be a 4K TV.
Yeah, more than likely.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Whether it be a year from now or 2 or 3 years from now, it's like
I agree.
Almost guaranteed.
It'll be at the point where it's like standard. So
right.
What do you guys think about the Gears of War Xbox One S?
I love it. It is super
Jared
cool.
predicted, of course.
Yeah, I predicted it. It wasn't announced at the Xbox conference for E3, but I did predict it.
Yep.
And I think it's cool. I think the argument people are having it's way too in your face. That's what for me. That's what a custom console or a video game console should be. Yeah. The subtle stuff's cool, but I mean, usually those are for super fans, So.
Yeah, I like it. Is the controller the one that they showed off at E3, the Elite?
No, I don't think it's an Elite. I think it's just the one with Bluetooth.
Okay, but it is Gears of War at least.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to say real quick. I don't want to get on a conversation of it. It can be a topic for another day. Now that I've been thinking about it, I really think Crackdown 3, the reason they're holding off on it and not talking about it is because I think that they want that to be their big thing for Scorpio. I think maybe they're retooling that game to work more and be more powerful. And I think that could be next year. It's like Project Scorpio. Oh, yeah, and Crackdown 3 is going to be a launch title on it.
So they're going to use that whole cloud gaming thing they got going on?
Yeah, I think they're getting quiet on it because they want to restructure the game for it to be worthy of being on Project Scorpio. I think it'll be available on Xbox One because you figure they announced it so early, they already have it working on that platform. But I think they're waiting because they want to retool it so there can be a reason to get the Project Scorpio version,
They've definitely said that all the games are going to be playable on both, though, right?
Yeah, they're going to be playable on both, but I'm saying I don't know how it's going to work. I think they're just retooling it so it works at optimal performance also for the Scorpio.
Yeah.
So that way those tiers are in place. The next story here, this is a real quick one. It's a follow-up to a follow-up. We've talked about Valve talking about shutting down the CSGO gambling sites. Yes. They officially sent a cease and desist notice. I'm going to read you guys the statement real quick, and then we can move on to the next story. So this is exactly what they sent, and below this was a list of all of the websites. There was like 15 of them. We are aware that you are operating one of the gambling sites listed below. You are using Steam accounts to conduct this business. Your use of Steam is subject to the terms of the Steam Subscriber Agreement, the SSA. Under the SSA, Steam and Steam services are licensed for persona non-commercial use only. Your commercial use of Steam accounts is unlicensed and in violation of the SSA. You should immediately cease and desist further use of your Steam accounts for any commercial purposes. If you fail to do this within 10 days, Valve will pursue all available remedies, including without limitation, terminating your accounts.
Damn.
Yeah, so I got kind of mad at Valve the last couple episodes saying that they need to do something about this, and maybe this is very cause and effect-y when they should have done it before everything happened, but at least they got straight to the point. They sent a cease and desist, and they're like, you have 10 days to figure it out. If not, we'll figure it out for you. So props to them for fixing the solution. They still should go back to being a game dev company and work on games that people really want to play. The next story here, Nintendo NX, which is going to be my topic later in the show, will help industry to grow, take a lot of casual players back, says Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot.
Nice!
The next Nintendo console, currently going by codename Nintendo NX, has yet to be revealed to the public. During Ubisoft's financial conference call for the first quarter of fiscal year 2016 to 17, which makes sense they're talking about the NX because NX is slated for March. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot talked about the Nintendo NX, stating that what they've seen so far for the console is really great. He also notes how having this machine coming is going to help the industry grow, as well as take a lot of the casual players and put them back into the industry. This final statement is definitely interesting, as it seems to suggest that the console will have some sort of feature that will attract casual players, like the Wii console did a few years back. I think the hook for this console is going to be that it's a handheld that can also be a console. I think as we keep going on, that makes more and more sense. The way you attract a casual audience, as you see in the Pokemon Go, is you make something very mobile and very simple. And nothing's more simple than a console that's mobile, that is plug and play into your TV, right?
Yeah.
If you're able to play something mobily, and then, I want to play it on my TV, and it's as simple as plugging one thing into your TV. How that'll work, it'll probably be two things, because you probably need a power outlet. I don't know. But
picture this, like you have a part of it that's always plugged into your TV.
Yeah. Well, the way I think about it is the Apple speakers. You know the Apple speakers, where it's like a thing that sits there, and then whenever you want to use it, you just put your iPhone or iPod in it, and it works?
Yes.
I think it would be like that.
Yes, Jared. The most popular MP3 player of all time is called the iPod.
Yeah. So I think it'll be like that. It'll be maybe a hub station. But I think they're talking about the casual hook, and I really think the casual hook is going to be a mobile device that you can take everywhere, but easily plugs into your thing. I think that's going to be the big thing. Is this is also a television console, so we'll see.
I don't know. I don't think that's casual. Like the casual market is doing all that on their, well, not all that, but they're being casual on their smartphones.
Yeah,
and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this would have been a casual, hit maybe 5-10 years ago, but I mean that's why 3DS and Vita sales are sliding down a hill right now. So I don't think that the mobile I think you're right. It's going to be something like that, but I don't know if it's going to work out the way they want. I don't think it's like casual. I mean, because they're going to market it all screwy. No, let's be honest.
Damn.
They're not going to know what to say about it. I don't have high hopes.
And also, we don't know what the casual gamer wants, because we're not really that. And I'm not trying to put us above them, but like what we want out of stuff is completely different than somebody else. Like we'll see.
Yeah.
So before we get into the last story, Jordan, you have a couple of stories for us.
So today I have a story from IGN that was written by the Dark Knight of News himself, Andy Goldfarb, and it is talking about the Rise of the Tomb Raider 20th Year Celebration Edition, which has just been announced for the PS4, coming out on October 11th.
About time.
And I've talked a bunch on this show about where the hell is the release date for this game. Not super in love with Uncharted, and this is what is going to satiate that appetite for the adventure game, the third-person action adventure. And a bunch of people were speculating, talking about whether this game was going to be $60 when it came on PS4, whether or not it was going to have all the DLC included. And then, they just blow it out with this big infographic. Not only are we getting it for $60 with all the DLC included, but they're also adding a ton of stuff. There's a new co-op endurance mode. They've already had endurance, but now it's co-op. There's a nightmare chapter that's probably going to be pretty short, but you play as Laura in a nightmare. There's another level where you walk around Croft Manor, and you have to...
PSVR.
Yeah, you have to prove that you are the rightful heir of the Croft Manor, and that will also... You can play it just regular PS4, but it will also have PSVR compatibility. New difficulties, new in-game models, so you can play as like the really old-school Laura from like the first... games that are really blocky and weird polygons, and then you get a bunch new outfits for Laura, which I was actually really into in the first game, just because they look really cool and they give you some changeability with your character, even though it's not really an RPG in that sense. So
Jordan,
yeah,
Laura or Lara?
It's Lara.
Okay, thought I heard you say Laura in there.
I might have. It's not interchangeable, but they're so close. Lara Croft, Lara. Good point on the
LC
grammar
to
there,
the
Dom.
oft.
I am a stickler Yes, I'm a stickler on grammar, so I like you keeping me on my toes.
They didn't have to do that, so that's awesome. They didn't have to.
They really didn't, dude. It could have been $60, and then you got to buy the whole season pass and the extra stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited about this. October 11th, I think. Didn't we talk about it coming out in November when it was supposedly leaking? Yeah. So I'm super excited about this. This is perfect timing. Like right after Final Fantasy 15 and Mafia 3. So yeah, can't wait, man.
I think this game, I don't know. I was going to say something, but I don't know if it's true. I was going to say I think this game might sell better on PS4 than Mafia 3 does.
Probably. I think,
yeah,
dude, it's going to be big on PS4. I think they were stupid to go with Xbox. Maybe they got paid enough, but who knows?
Yeah, I think it really bothered me the way people were complaining about it and getting mad at the company. It's like a company, they're not the first company to do that.
Oh, yeah.
You should be happy that they did this. Like, they didn't have to do any of this.
Yeah, this is
They went out of their way to be like, hey, PlayStation gamers, we know it sucks for you to have to deal with this because you didn't make your decision knowing that this was going to happen, yada, yada. Yeah. But we'll make it worth the wait. So that's cool.
It's a very, very cool package that they put together, and like I said, they really blew it out, man. I mean, lots and lots and lots of content. I can't wait. I'll be pre-ordering. Dom, you're a big Uncharted fan. Are you going to be playing this, day one?
Probably not. I'll probably wait for it to go on sale. I mean, I could have bought this on PC for the last 6 months or whatever, so yeah. I want to play it eventually, but I probably won't drop $60 on it, but we'll see.
Okay. So then I have another story, but real quick I wanted to mention, I just talked about Final Fantasy 15, and we've talked about the Uncovered event and all the different multimedia stuff they're doing. They just announced today, a lot of people were wondering if they would do this with Final Fantasy. It's like a classic-looking version of the Final Fantasy games, and it's a little kind of DLC game that is a story that Noctis is being told as a child, and so you play as young Noctis with a little party, and it looks like a 1632-bit type of game, and coming out the same day as Final Fantasy 15. It looks awesome.
It looked cool. I saw it.
Yeah.
A
lot of people have been saying they should do the big, of course, open world RPG Final Fantasies, but also on the side maybe do like some I Am Setsuna style stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. And then the big story here is Metal Gear Solid 3 Pachinko. Of course, there was the big hullabaloo last year with Konami and Kojima that they had this big tizzy. Silent Hill got canceled with Norman Reedus and Guillermo del Toro. And then Metal Gear Solid 5 came out incomplete. It wasn't even a full game. They had to give you this random animatic of what the final mission would have looked like. And then the last 5 or 10 were just repeats of other missions on harder difficulties. So big issues between Konami and Kojima. Wouldn't even let him accept his game award last December. So tons of BS going on there. Now we get this news story that they're making these pachinko machines, which everyone knows Konami does a bunch of other things in video games. Pachinko is a big part of that. And they're doing a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater pachinko machine. They're really doing a big thing with this. They're making a big deal over in Japan. And what they've done is they've taken a bunch of these cutscenes from Metal Gear Solid 3 and completely remade them in the Fox engine, which was the engine for Metal Gear Solid 5 that made it look so incredibly gorgeous. And so they have all these remade cutscenes from Snake Eater that look incredible. One of my favorite Metal Gear Solid games, right up there with MGS5 and Peace Walker. Those are my top 3 probably. And they've released 2 trailers now for this pachinko machine, and Games Radar is the story I'm reading here. People are starting to speculate that maybe these remade cutscenes in this pachinko game are actually from either a canceled MGS3 remake or an MGS3 remake that is currently in production, but they just haven't announced yet. So there's a few tweets here. Richard Stanton says, all the noobs that dissed Konami for making an MGS3 pachinko machine can now eat their words. Look at that shit. Greatest pachinko machine ever. Also, Konami is clearly remaking MGS3. Look at the amount of footage. Someone else, Xiaomu Arisu, says, wouldn't it be cool if we actually got an MGS3 remake in the Fox engine? Not with this Konami, though. And then this other guy, Joe Gibbs, says, very worrying possibility that this is all reused footage from a potentially canceled MGS remake. And yeah, like these guys said, there's a ton of footage here. One of the trailers is just a couple minutes, but the other one is 7 minutes long, and it probably has 4 or 5 minutes of these cutscenes that they've fully remade. Like I said, they're looking incredible, and MGS3 is an awesome game. I'm really, really, really hoping that this isn't from a canceled remake. I know you guys aren't huge Metal Gear Solid fans, but I would so love if we got this game remade, especially for PS4. Maybe even on Neo. It would look amazing. What do you guys think?
I don't have too much to say about it. I think it's wishful thinking to think that it's something that's currently in development. If Konami has told you anything, it's that they don't care. And I really think this is just repurposing old assets. I think they're clearly not interested in winning over gamers. I mean, that could be the one case. If they are interested in winning over gamers, then they would be coming out with the remake. But I think this is just repurposing assets. I think it's like, we tried doing a Metal Gear remake. Let's just put these on a pachinko machine. It'll make money, whatever.
Repurposing assets, though, the amount of footage speaks to the fact that they would have had to be very far in. So it almost feels like you're saying they're kind of nonchalant about it. Like, oh, let's just toss this in there. I just feel like it would have had to be a big thing for them to have gotten this far into a remake and then end up not releasing it. I feel like if they used... Like, if these cutscenes are from an MGS3 remake, it will come out because they have to be that far into it.
Yeah, I hope it's either really bad or it doesn't sell well. Like,
ouch, dude! I want to play that game!
It has nothing to do with the game. It's that company, I just lost all respect for that company, and I could...
but don't you want them to make good games? Like, they even said, we're going to keep making Metal Gear, so this could be what they're talking about. Don't you want them to make good Metal Gear?
Well, first of all, I don't really care about Metal Gear to begin with, so that could probably be the point of which I'm coming across as.
But I mean, even games you don't care about, don't you want them to be good?
Yeah, I wish somebody else had the rights to Metal Gear. I have zero respect for Konami, man. I
definitely don't respect them. I would just like to see this.
I mean, this can be a topic another day, and we can dig into it. But I have no idea, like, what Konami did. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like there's just so much ambiguity here, and people just are really hating on this company. I just want to know, like, what exactly, like, verifiably documented they did, I guess.
Well,
but, yeah, another
no
day.
one knows what went on between them and Kojima, but it is the fact that they kept him from going to the VGAs last December. They canceled Silent Hill when it was obviously going to be a big thing with Guillermo and Norman, and then they, boggled the release of MGS5, made it come out early, and they had all these bad microtransactions in that game that were really money grubby, and people didn't like that either. There's a bunch of other tiny little things, but I think they did plenty to warrant the whole "fuck Konami" hashtag.
Yeah, I hate to say it like that, Jordan. Like, Metal Gear is a really awesome series that I hope people love that franchise. So
yeah,
I don't.
MGS3 is one of the best.
Yeah, I'm not saying that from a point of I don't want that game to exist. I'm saying it from, like, I wish the money was going in somebody else's pocket other than Konami. So.
Honestly, I think, I've lost all respect, but I mean, I've lost respect for plenty of companies, EA and Activision. I don't have a lot of respect for very many publishers in the industry besides the first parties, really, and I definitely lost Nintendo respect, but I wish, I would like for them to regain our trust and regain our respect, because they could, they fucked over somebody, but, Capcom fucked over Iga.
They should just start talking then. That's a problem, is they're letting everyone else control their message,
Yeah, so I hope that maybe 10 years in the future, Konami is really back into video games, and they are making awesome stuff, and they are being respectful to the creators that help make their games.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hopefully that happens for the sake of
I hope this remake comes out, I really hope that it wasn't canceled, because that would be so sad with the amount of footage that they have.
Really quick, we've gone on quite a bit for news, so this is just gonna be a really quick thing. Basically, this comes from Ars Technica. It's been reported other places. This comes from Kyle over at Ars Technica. The patented super formula that could cause a legal headache for No Man's Sky, and essentially goes into there was a super formula that was created in 2002. It was basically received a patent, and it's a mathematical formula that allows for like the generation of stuff, geometric transformation formula. So essentially, the short part of the story, I'm going to condense it, is that this formula is created. People are allowed to use it as long as they get permission. And apparently, it's rumored that No Man's Sky, or what they're saying is that Jenny kept saying that No Man's Sky used this formula without their permission, which is a huge thing, obviously.
Especially since that game is all about the
algorithm
mathematics. That's why it's got such a small file size.
So we'll see what happens with this in the coming days. The game's gone gold, but if there's some kind of lawsuit that comes through with using Creative Commons and stuff like that, we'll see. This is big, so this could just be somebody blowing hot air just to try to get some attention. Maybe it has nothing to do with anything. But as far as this article, if you want to check it out, it'll be in the description down below in the news part of the YouTube video. It goes into in depth what exactly happened, when the formula was made, all of that stuff. It goes in depth. It also has some really cool things talking about how if this did go to court, how the Supreme Court would rule on it with algorithm patents and stuff like that. So it's a very cool, detailed article. So if you want to get into that, definitely check it out. But yeah, some bad news for No Man's Sky if this is true. So we'll see what happens. Get into the topics here. Let's go with Jordan. You want to go first?
Sure. What was my topic, guys? Oh, no. I know what it was. It was the refurbished versus new consoles. Yeah, so, Dom, you've been talking about possibly getting a Vita, which, holy crap, I'm on the edge of my freaking seat, man. If you get a Vita, I'm going to freak out.
So, really quick, I'll preface that. It's no longer possibly, I'm going to get one.
Yeah!
Right? I've decided, I'm absolutely going to, but I'm glad that this is your topic, because that's playing into my decision right now. I'm struggling, and then there's also the possibility that this thing is going to get an official price drop later this year or something. I think that could happen very well, and I'd hate to buy one right now and have for $150, and then it end up being $100 new in a couple months or something. But what do you got for your topic?
With all that being said, I first want to say hearty beyond to you, sir. Welcome to Vita Island. Even though
he's sitting at the counter trying to buy his tickets. He's figuring out if he wants to buy his tickets, if they're going to let him go.
Yeah. I'll smuggle you in. How about that?
The airline people are just being dicks.
Too late.
They're like, no, you can't go, sir.
My Vita is Japanese. That's why it's white. And so I'm in Vita Island. I can smuggle you in. No big deal. You can stay at my place for a few nights. Anyways, yes, beyond. And my topic is, like I said, refurbished versus new. I thought that you were definitely going with refurbished, so I'm glad that we're gonna terse this out.
Since I told that to you, I'm kind of changing my mind back to new.
So first of all, shout out to IGN Daily Deals. I check that pretty often because, like I said, I read IGN pretty much every day, and I would say pretty freaking often there's a Vita on there that's they are currently 200 MSRP, but they'll have them on there for 180, and I think they sometimes have like memory cards or games with them. So I would say check IGN Daily Deals. 180 for a new Vita is really not bad. It is the slim version, obviously, because they don't manufacture the OLED anymore, but that's another thing we got to talk about. Are you getting OLED or are you getting slim? Obviously, this isn't the topic, just the Vita, but I will say you're definitely doing slim. Okay. Yeah. So I have a slim. I could have gotten the white Assassin's Creed version. It would have been a little bit hard to find the OLED, but I went ahead and just decided to do this. And this comes into the topic, which is I like having new consoles, new handhelds. I like having electronic devices in general, TVs, tablets, phones, anything like that. I would rather it be new just because I take such good care of. Back when I had discs, I would never let the discs get scratched, and my hardware and my controllers and all of that stuff, my electronics, I take like really pristine care of them just because I want them to last a long time and look good for a long time. So this comes into play if I get a refurbished or used console. Then there's could be scratches or scuffs, whatever. Maybe it's light, but even if there's just that one little ding, I'm gonna be looking at it and being like, "Damn, I didn't do that. I couldn't have saved it from that fall."
For some reason, it's better when you made the scratch yourself.
Yeah.
But if you get something that someone else scratched,
like if you put the scratches in character, if somebody else did, they're tarnishing the product. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. It's like a dirty pair of shoes or whatever. Yeah. So you just brought me back to a great memory. We don't talk about the PSP enough on here. I want to give a shout out to my boy.
I owned a PSP.
Would have been my favorite handheld of all time if ye old Vita hadn't come along. Because it's basically just a PSP 2.0 better version with too many knick-knack, paddywhack.
Give a dog a bone. Could I make a statement real quick?
Give a dog a bone. Bells and whistles.
I love my 3DS. Go ahead. I absolutely adore my 3DS. The PSP was my favorite handheld I've ever had. I love the PSP.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Yes. So, I was shouting out PSP, and that memory I was going to mention is I had my PSP, got it new for my birthday, like the year or so after it came out. And so you're talking about making your own dings and nicks on your consoles. It's okay if you do it. I was playing NCAA football because I used to actually be into sports games when I was a kid. And I, those games you would just get screwed sometimes, of course. Half the time you're throwing the football and it goes right in the breadbasket and the guy just drops it and you're like, what the fuck? So one time...
Not if you're playing as the Detroit Lions.
One time I was playing NCAA football, or Madden maybe, on my PSP on a trip we were somewhere. And I freaked out on the game because it was too hard or I messed up or whatever. And I bit into the top of my PSP screen, and with my canine tooth, I didn't want to throw it, I didn't want to break it, but I was just freaking the fuck out, and I was like, ah! And I just bit it. And so
you bit it. You tried to eat the PSP.
My canine tooth, the sharp one right here on the bottom, just barely pushed into the top of the screen. Luckily, it wasn't in the screen or in the middle of the screen. It was just at the top, off of the screen, and so it didn't really affect anything. But it was always there. I was always looking at it yeah, that's stupid. It's just sitting there. I don't care. But It was funny.
So, I'm not gonna ostracize you for this, but I just have one question. How did it taste?
It was very not edible, I would say. It was very not tasty.
Glass and plastic.
Exactly, yeah. So I think, shame on me because I disrespected my PlayStation Portable, and I'm sorry to the little guy for that, but that is a funny memory. So back to new and refurbished. Let's talk a little bit about your Vita, Dom. What are the pros and cons for you that you're trying to decide now about? Obviously, price is one. But what are you thinking right now between new and refurbished? And include a little spot about how you usually lean as far as gaming consoles and electronics. Do you buy new or used? Refurbished?
Also, what color are you looking at? Are you just going for the base?
That's a good one.
Oh, that's part of the conversation too. But and I'll get into that. So in this particular scenario with the Vita right now, refurbished ones are about $100 to $120.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, that's good because I don't want to pay $200 for a Vita right now. I would feel like a chum, even though I want, that's just too much. But I found some new ones on Amazon for $150, which isn't too bad.
Dude.
So when you look at the difference in price,
okay,
right, $150 for a new one and $120 for a refurb, it's like you might as well just get the new one. You get a year warranty.
Pay the $30, Dom. Pay the $30.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one game, but yeah, exactly, it's nothing.
Your refurbs come with usually like a 60 or 90-day warranty from the sketchy Amazon seller.
Maybe, yeah.
Might be a scratch on the screen or one of those dings that we complain about, but at least the new one, it's coming in a factory sealed box, and you're going to get some support from Sony on it, presumably. I assume most things come with a year warranty against against defects or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's That's why I ultimately swung back to wanting a new one, just because it's just not worth it. Now there are some scenarios for the most part I'm with you. I like new stuff.
Yeah.
It's good. It's something new. It's yours. Sometimes if it's really worth it, then a refurbished piece of hardware is better. I think you can buy refurbished Wii U's directly from Nintendo for like $200, whereas they're normally $300. In that case, that's really worth it. Although the Wii U is still overpriced, I can't fathom why it still costs as much as it does. It costs the same amount as an Xbox One S.
Jesus.
Because it needs to for them to make profit.
Jesus.
Right. It's just bizarre that thing hasn't dropped in price, considering it's so low spec and it's not sold. You would think. I don't know.
Dude, it's that high def tablet, bro.
Yeah.
Comes with an iPad.
So that's why I fell back to the new camp. And then the color of the Vita was also a big factor because I really wanted that aqua blue one. Like, that thing is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
I can't find one new.
What?
Used and refurbished ones are like $180.
That's weird because they're slims. They're the new versions. You might have to import from
like
Japan.
GameStop.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because
that's
the thing. They only sell black new in America.
You have to get it overseas if you want any color.
Yeah.
Because when I was looking through things, it appeared as if GameStop sold them, just like exclusively GameStop sold them,
but not new.
The blue ones in the U.S.
Not new.
Maybe that's the case because they didn't have anything in stock.
The thing is they're totally region free, so you don't have to worry. You have a black PS4, correct? So I got the Destiny White
day one,
and it's so fucking gorgeous, glacier white, and so I definitely wanted the white Vita to match, and they only sell them new, colorful in Japan, but I just went on. I was about to import it and get this whole, go through this whole process and pay a little bit extra money or whatever. But then I found out there's people that are sellers on Amazon America that are selling, new Japanese model Vitas. So you can just get it through Amazon, not, actually through Amazon. Amazon's not the one selling it, but there's,
they cover it.
Yeah, and there's like
it's fulfilled through Amazon.
The sellers have their ratings or whatever, and mine came through brand new, and it was quick shipping. You can even get them Prime because they're here in America. They're just from Japan. So if you want the blue colored new, then you'll definitely have to do an import. But you can get it here.
Your other concern about it dropping in price later, you can never determine or predict that.
Yep.
You're just going to be sitting there waiting, wondering, and you're never going to buy it. And then what if that price drop never comes? It's better to buy it now, not right now, obviously, but buy it now.
Yeah.
And if the price drop happens, it happens. You might feel bad about it. But if you just sit waiting and then eventually, I don't know. You might as well get as most fun as you can out of the Vita before it's gone forever.
It's not going to be gone. It's a legacy console already, but you'll be able to play the games. It's a digital console, you'll be able to play the games forever.
No, I know. I mean support moving forward.
The thing in general is hard to find new anywhere. Even the black ones, like the slim black model. Like,
why do they need to?
GameStop
didn't
stock
them though?
Any in stock?
Why would they stock them? It's like pointless.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Like Best Buy doesn't have any, even on their online store. Walmart, like nowhere had any. And the one I found through Amazon was through another seller. And I don't know how that works. I mean, this guy could have been a truck heist where he got 100 of them or something.
Okay, well, I've bought plenty of stuff
they're
on
factory
Amazon.
sealed.
I don't think it's like some weird Craigslist rapist or anything.
Well, right. But it's still one of the Amazon Marketplace sellers or whatever.
It's not an official seller yet.
Right. I like to buy directly from Amazon. I do that all the time. But the Marketplace people, I'm sure they're all fine.
The one thing I will say, both with Amazon and eBay, you get a guarantee. I've had plenty of people be kind of sketchy, like on eBay or Amazon, that aren't, the official sellers, and they'll say it's new, but it's actually used or whatever. You got a total guarantee from both of those websites, so that is a thing to think about. Yeah, you're definitely you've said that you're getting one for sure. Now, here's the deal: if you have the money ready to go, what I suggest, if you're not going to get new, if you're going for refurb, then just sit on eBay, watch out. You could even bid, and I guarantee you could get maybe a new one, but probably a refurbished one for less than $100. If you really wanted to do that, and if you've got it ready to go, then you can just do that. But if you
no one's sitting there looking at the Vita on eBay trying to snipe stuff, so you probably have a good chance.
Well, let me tell you a quick story because that's what I thought too. Because I've been keeping an eye on the Bay, as I call it, for the past couple of days now, and Vitas because most people who are selling them on eBay are including a memory card, almost always a 4 or 8 gigabyte one, which I'm like, that's just worthless. But they go up in price, and there's like 30, 40 bids on a lot of them. And the blue ones especially, like they get over to like up to $200 for used ones. I'm like, well, that's just not. I just couldn't justify that. But they are surprisingly popular on eBay because there's not that many listings of them. Yeah, you know, there's like maybe 20 or 30, and none of them new. So that's kind of. It's just tough.
I'd say Amazon's your best bet here.
I like the seller that I found, $150 for a new one. They have like 100% rating, so I'm sure it's fine.
So memory cards real quick. You got to get one. Ugh. First of all, you need to decide, are you going digital or are you going to have some physical cartridges?
Oh, I'm going all digital. I'll have one physical cartridge to keep in the system, but that's it. I want a 32
I say you got to go 64, dude. You got to go 64 because they are starting to drop in price. They're still pretty expensive, like just below 100, like 80, 90 bucks. But I mean, you're still going to spend probably at least 60 on a 32. It's like, just do it. It sucks. Yeah, it's like when I was buying my Vita, I was like getting accessories and stuff too, so I could kind of just be stocked up when I got it. And I was kind of like, you know what? This is the price of the console. The memory card is part of it. That's like my hard drive and my PS4 or whatever. I'm just going to consider it part of the console. Yeah, it's more expensive. It sucks, whatever. But I play it so much, and it's totally worth it, and I love it, so whatever.
This was new versus old consoles. I think it turned into shit down by Vita.
Well, I think that was relevant to the conversation.
Real quick before we head on to the next topic, I just want to say, with new and used consoles, I'm exactly with you, Jordan, 100%. I like buying new because I take really good care of my stuff. I think the used marketplace definitely needs to exist, especially for families who can't afford a brand new console. And there's definitely room for that kind of stuff. But for me personally, I'm definitely the new snob. Like, if I'm buying tech, I buy it new. That's just how I feel because
there's nothing like the smell of an unboxing of a new any kind of technology
Dude,
product.
When I was building my PC
console,
and I was taking all those parts out of the boxes.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. Wow. When you peel the plastic screen off of like your case window or whatever else, that's static.
Even the monitor, just off of the monitor, dude. Next topic is actually a pretty polarizing topic in the world of video games, right, Dom? Hit us with your topic.
Yeah, so last week I griped a little bit about GTA and why it's just not for me. I wanted to extend that into it's not as prominent today, but early 2000s it was the popular like Fox News thing to do was just bash on video games and how much violence they have, and it goes against family morals and it's corrupting our youth and this and that. I don't see it so much anymore. Again, we're kind of past that, I think, as a society. It's just become our culture, but I want to see what your guys' thoughts are on that kind of perspective. I'll first throw out that I think it's indisputable that if you're playing a lot of violent shooting video games as a kid, it desensitizes you to shooting people. Like, it just absolutely does. Obviously not as much as actually shooting someone would over and over, but I think it's indisputable that does affect you over time and time again. When you've shot 100 people in the head in a game, you're just a little more desensitized to it. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone who has ever killed someone illegally or whatever did so because they played a lot of video games, right? I look at it as kind of like a gateway drug sort of thing where not everyone who smokes marijuana ends up doing heroin, but everyone who does heroin used to do marijuana,
Dom.
kind of thing, right?
Everyone knows if you smoke marijuana, you'll end up on heroin, no doubt about it.
Right. It's not
sarcasm,
like exactly.
People.
It's not like saying
that's sarcasm. I hope.
Yeah. I'm not saying that like if you play a lot of violent video games, then you're guaranteed to go and kill people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like it has to have at least some slight psychological effect. I don't think you can logically deny that. Now, after all that, I'm a pretty hardcore like libertarian, so I would never suggest that we censor anything for anyone like in any means. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel about those kinds of things. But it's important. Like the game ratings are important, and I would never let my kids play the majority of video games, that I play now. Right? I just wouldn't, not until they're 15, 16, or whatever I deem appropriate. So the ESRBs are pretty. They're not always the best, but it's a good thing to start your
hold
judgment
on. You're telling me you didn't play M-rated video games till you were 15 or 16?
I think Call of Duty was the first M-rated game I played.
Didn't you talk about playing that in middle school?
But 14? You also said your family didn't let you watch Harry Potter. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's
exactly.
like younger.
I mean, no, it was worse than that though, because the transition from like only playing T games to M games wasn't that big. The bigger issue was when I was, between 8 and 10 or 11, when we weren't allowed to even play the T games. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And that, like, the difference there is so ridiculous. When you get up to M, it's like your Grand Theft Autos and your Call of Duties. It's like, yeah, that's mature, and there's a lot of stuff going on. The difference between E and T was so silly. I remember playing the first Lego Star Wars was a rated E game, and I loved it. But then, like, the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, movie-based Star Wars game was rated T. And I wasn't allowed to get it. Eventually, like after like a year, I convinced my dad to let me rent it or whatever. But it's such a silly thing to base these decisions off of. Like, it's Star Wars. Like I was allowed to watch the movies and play the Lego version, but you know what I mean? It didn't. No, there's some T games that I probably should have stayed away from, but it just seems it can get arbitrary and like it's not really effective in what it's trying to do. But so. Just want to see what you guys think about, violence and game ratings or whatever else you want to throw in there.
So I don't know if I was raised differently than you guys, but so for me, I'm a pretty smart guy for the most part. And when my mom raised us, she essentially felt that we were smart enough to learn things. And there's also a counter argument to this. You say that to a certain extent, it can desensitize you. But also, if you shelter your kids too much, that can also affect them. So that way, when they're actually exposed to this kind of stuff, it could have a more drastic effect on them. There's also a definite counter argument.
There's learning about something, and then there's like diving headfirst into interactivity. 100 people in a game a day. You know what I mean? It's different than a sex talk.
But violence has always been around. It's not just in video games.
Yep.
And I think all the understanding of your kids and what your kids can handle. I don't think you should have kids automatically. This is me personally speaking. Everyone can do their own thing, but for me, it's like I should automatically say, okay, at 13 they can watch this, or at 15 they can watch this. For me, as my child grows and I realize what their understanding capabilities are and how they look on the world and how they learn and stuff like that. I think it's definitely a case by case basis. I was able to watch rated R movies since I was a young kid. And I didn't have any negative effects.
Lucky dog.
Play video games. I never had any restrictions. I never was not allowed to watch.
He says as he stabs a bunny with a voodoo pin.
No, I've never had violent tendencies. Nothing.
You were one of those kids. Like there were a couple kids I knew whose parents were like that, and I was always so jealous.
And it's nature versus nurture too.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff it's hard to determine whether or not what they had in their life affected the way they acted, or if that's them genetically. Like there's a whole argument with that, and I do think it's up to a parent to be on top of these things. Not every kid should be able to see R-rated movies or play these very violent games when they're little, just because they might not be able to handle it, mentally. And also
right, like a scary movie.
Sometimes that can traumatize your kid. It's up to the parent. On top of this, it's the parents. Parents do not pay attention to their kids enough these days. They don't care about what their kids are buying. They don't care about anything. They go into a store, you want this game? Okay, they don't even bother looking at the rating. And then they get mad at the video games for being too violent when it says on the box your kid shouldn't be playing it. Yeah. And see, the thing is the ratings aren't a definitive thing from a parent's perspective. I don't think. It's not like, okay, this thing says 17 plus, so that means I can only buy this for my kid when they're 17. You as a parent should know your kid well enough to understand, okay, my kid's 14 or 15, but he's mature as a 17-year-old.
Yep.
This is fine. It's up to the parent to pay attention to that. It's lazy parents, honestly. And I think that there are different types of violence too that I think affect differently. Like, for instance, I think Doom's violence is a lot different than Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 is very dark. It's a bad example, but it's the only thing I can think of. yeah, there's blood and stuff, but it's not in your face gore.
Speaking of,
It's
I
not
see,
realism either.
especially on the Podcast Beyond Facebook group, I see tons of people posting photos and videos of their kids playing Dark Souls, and I'm like, what the fuck? They're like 6-year-old kids playing Dark Souls and Bloodborne. I'm like, holy shit, I would crap my pants.
From a scary level, not from a violence level, yeah.
I mean, it's totally violent.
From a difficulty
Yeah,
level.
Super
level, too.
fucking violent. There's tons of blood.
I see it as a different type of violence. I think that, for me, the way I look at it is like, I think Dark Souls, it is violent. You can't say it's not.
But it's so
Yeah.
fantasy. It's so
But it is very
unrealistic that
gory
it's not.
too. I mean, just because it's fantasy doesn't mean it's not like real
Yeah.
gore with blood flying out.
But to me, I think that is a lot different than like a Call of Duty or a Doom or stuff like that. And maybe it has to do with the first person aspect too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a big part of it.
I think this isn't really a crazy argument where there's like, violence is bad or in video games or stuff like that. But the thing we brought up last week is a very valid point of the VR. I think being outside of it and holding a controller and playing a game is one thing. I think once you're in this virtual reality space, that's where it can really mess with your mind. We've had instances, the Google Glass guy, like our phantom vibrations on our phone. That stuff can really mess with you. I think when it starts going to that aspect, parents need to be on top of it. You can't just let your kid play any game in VR. Like that's going to be a huge thing, and it's
This conversation is going to come back up when VR
God.
takes off.
Like we
sure.
talked about it on the show. We think that someone's probably going to die within the next year for VR, and that Sony had to put the whole label. You can't, or you're not recommended to play if you're under 12 or 13, I think, and stuff like that. For me, parenting is a big part, like you were talking about, Jared. I think Dom, you mentioned libertarianism. I think one of the big problems that we have today, especially in America, is the fact that parents expect the government to raise their child in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Part of that being with the games or media, movies, TV, whatever.
Right. Go sit in the room. It'll take care of you.
Yeah, the music with the explicit labels. It's all over the place how parents are like, no, you have to make sure my kid can't get access to this. You have to make sure that my kid's not watching or playing this.
And you have to make sure that you got to make sure the neighbor kids and his friends at school aren't either, because he talks to them, right? Oh,
So yeah, I
being
think,
a parent.
right,
Sorry.
right. You have to, and it's good to experience what your kids are experiencing, especially at a young age. Like, see what they're watching on TV. Sit down and play next to them. Just get involved with what they're doing. That's a good parent, but also know what your kids are into, know what they're involved in, and experience that for yourself. So okay, this is good. This is too much for them. This is probably something I should wait for till they're older or whatever. And violence in video games is a big part of that, man. You got to, I think, less than Jared, I was more like you, Dom. Like, I probably had to be 10 or 11 before I was playing teen games. And then, by the time I was 12, I was just like buying my own M-rated games off of, shout out to HK-Offer House. Because I was getting super cheap Chinese versions of games that would play on my 360, and they were M games that I couldn't buy in America because I didn't have an ID. So, I totally know where you're coming from, but I think you gotta watch out for your kids and know what they're into,
And talk to your
Talk
kids.
to your kids,
Talk to your
yes.
kids.
Yeah. I mean, just pay attention and make a decision based on that. Don't just completely ignore what they're doing. But I want to throw in, I got carded at a GameStop when I bought Dragon Age Inquisition.
That is hilarious.
Literally, I couldn't believe
Yeah.
it. I was aged 20 or 21.
It's hilarious.
Also, the biggest problem with the United States too is that and I'm for violence if your kid can handle it. Like, I'm not super opposed to it. Like, I really think it's up to a kid to kid basis, like discussing with your kid and stuff like that. I don't think violence is as much of a scary thing. I think there's plenty of other factors in society that can affect your kid negatively outside of video game violence.
We live in the real world.
I don't think it's the only thing. Yeah.
So
I even forgot where I was going with that point,
So building off of
No, you're right.
of your story, Dom. I was in a GameStop. I was in front of one of my friends who was like 2 or 3 years older than me, right? And you talk about this beard and this hair. A lot of people think I'm way older than I look, or look way older than I am, I should say, because I'm 22 and people think I'm in my late 20s most of the time. And so I was like 16 or 17, and the dude didn't card me, and then he carded my older friend behind me. I was like, Jesus, this is awesome. Yep, exactly.
To that point, when I first met you, I thought you were like 26. I thought you were older than me.
People
So,
think I'm pushing 30, man. It's crazy.
I don't think you're that old. I wouldn't say you look that old.
Well,
but
26, 27, yeah.
yeah. What were you gonna say though, Dom? To that point, you had something.
Yeah, I'm
before
sorry.
Jordan was going? I was talking about how there's outside
I don't
factors
remember.
besides video game violence that can affect you.
Oh, yeah. So even though I said earlier that I think it can desensitize you, out of all the things in the world that occur that affect, the mentality of a kid, video games are, even if they're a big gamer, it's probably 1% of what affects
but
it. You know what I mean?
I remember my
So I'm
point real
with you
quick.
there.
Let me just. I forgot it. I want to get it out real quick before I forget. It's amazing to me how little America worries about violence, but they're super opposed to like you seeing sex stuff. Whereas in Europe, it's the complete opposite. They're whatever, you can see boobs, whatever, but the violent stuff hold back on that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think we live in the global culture. I would say has a level of violence to it. There's wars going on constantly. There's a lot of fucked up shit in this world, and I think you're talking about
In the past couple months.
exactly. So yeah, you were talking about shielding your kids, Jared. I do think there's something to be said for showing kids, hey, this is what's up. This is real. This is reality. This is what happens, and these are terrible things, but they do occur. On the other hand, I think the reason that a lot of parents get so up in arms about video game violence as opposed to violence in any other media, like you said, Jared, it's been around forever, not just in movies or music or TV shows. It's been around for hundreds of years in books, in novels.
Yep.
And the big reason I think that parents get up in arms about
But
video
Americans
games
don't read, so.
the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It's sitting right in front of me, friend. Anyways, the reason that parents get so up in arms about video games specifically, I think, is because of the interactivity.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that you're picking up a controller and you're manipulating the environment within the game, and you are the one killing, you are the one slaughtering in Gears of War with your fucking chainsaw on the end of your gun, You are the one making those actions happen and taking those virtual lives in that digital space.
Well, and the thing too that's great for video gaming as it improves is that we're getting a lot more games where you're learning that killing actually has a cause and effect. Like there's games where you very rarely kill and you understand how much of an impact it has. There's games now where you don't kill at all, and I think earlier in video games there was a simple mechanic of there's bad guys, step on them, there's bad guys, jump over them, there's bad guys. And I think as video games have progressed, we still have violent video games. There's always room for that, just like there's always room for horror movies. Like there's definitely more avenues now though where there's non-violent video games. So if you really feel that you don't want your kid to be exposed to that, you can still have your kid play video games. There's plenty of options now. So
it kind of goes both ways though. There's more of these artistic indie games that don't even have killing or aren't violent. They're really peaceful and chill. But at the same time, because of the fact that a lot of us, like us specifically, we're in that age bracket where we grew up with the advent of video games. They're not that old. They really haven't been around that long. And so people like us, especially men age 18 to 35, buy a lot, most of the video games, especially in America. And so video games have become more violent, there's a lot more M-rated games these days because of the demographic that's purchasing the most amount of video games. There's still kids games, there's still non-violent stuff, but there is more saturation of the violence and M-rated stuff because you have more adults playing and buying games.
yeah, just like there's a ton of misogyny too that's kind of getting whittled away as we go on as well.
Yeah.
So let's get into
all the male power fantasies.
Yeah, that was our discussion on violence. We'll probably revisit it at a later date. It's a really interesting conversation to have. Let's get into the last topic here. So, Jordan and I have fun every week bashing Nintendo and NX, but we're gonna take a positive spin on this to warm Dom's heart. We're gonna be doing our dream NX reveal. So basically, we're each gonna take a turn. We're gonna state what the best timing we feel would be for the NX in our opinion. You can go into launch lineup, you can go into features, you can go literally into whatever you want, and then we'll close out the show. So I'll lead off since this is my topic. For me, I hope they tackle Gamescom. They don't necessarily need to be there, but with the recent announcements of PlayStation not doing a conference and Xbox not doing a conference, I think Gamescom, that time period, people want to hear news, people want to hear new things. I think that'd definitely be the time period for them to strike while the iron's hot. I think it's August 17th, or I think that's Gamescom. Maybe 7th. I could be wrong. One of those two dates.
Coming up.
And I think that'd be definitely good. They could do a Nintendo Treehouse event if they want to control it. Though I do think it would hit way harder if they had their own stage presence, but I don't know if Nintendo would do that. So for me, the timing, Gamescom. I think they should do it within that week, maybe the day of like the launch of Gamescom.
I don't even think Nintendo does Gamescom, do they?
No, but I'm saying like I guess for the press
They're gonna have
yeah.
They're gonna have their own separate event.
Yeah, I think they should do like
NX.
so for me for my Dream NX reveal to be a Treehouse, the same week as Gamescom. So they're still in that zeitgeist of everyone wanting to hear news. So they come out, they announce the console, they say exactly what it does. They give a price point. I think this thing will $299 maybe, $349, $299 optimistically thinking about it. They'll let you know what the console is. It's this handheld console hybrid. It plugs into this, yada yada yada. Dream launch lineup for March. Obviously, you have Zelda. People want Metroid. I like Metroid. I don't know if that's something you want at launch to sell consoles. But I think it would get a lot of people happy. I don't know if as many people as people would expect. For me, I would definitely want a new Mario. And I would definitely want some not backwards compatibility, but like, not remakes, but like relaunches, or at least like, so for instance, like Mario Kart, have the Mario Kart be able to be buyable or playable on the NX. Smash.
Well,
yeah.
There was that rumor going around that Smash and I think Mario Kart and Mario
so
Maker were going to have
all of those ports be available at launch. Splatoon 2, definitely people love that game. And I think
that's a mouthful. Splatoon 2
as well. No, I don't know if that was Splatoon 2, but definitely the Zelda. I think they should definitely have a 3D Mario, not a Super Mario World, this 2D kind of thing. I definitely think like a Galaxy or a.
It's time.
Yeah. And then a new IP would be cool. I don't know if that would happen, but a new IP would definitely be cool. And some really strong third party. Imagine if they announced that this is all going with Mass Effect Andromeda being available in March or around there. Imagine Mass Effect Andromeda's on the NX. That'd be super cool.
They need those third parties, man.
Yeah, so I definitely, for me, Gamescom, $299 or $349, and give us a good launch lineup and impress us. That's what my dream NX reveal would be. What about you guys?
So let me jump in. This is kind of a depressing topic because I have to tell you exactly what I think is not going to happen, but what I hope happens. I think you're right. $299 is probably the starting price point. Then maybe a model with more storage for $50 more, or whatever it is. That type of thing. And I think the gimmick is going to be this, semi-portable handheld thing that you can take with you and then come back and it connects to something and you can continue to play the same games. Or I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but I think that's what they think is going to be good. And that's their big idea that they're afraid everyone's going to steal. And I don't know. As far as timing, I guess Gamescom, why not? August. It's coming up. I can't imagine it going any later than September. I mean, if it has to be August or September that they announce this thing and show it and market it. Like, it has to be. It just, I don't know what else how they can wait it. Yeah, I mean, because they do have some opportunity here with Scorpio slated. Well, again, that's part of the problem with Microsoft announcing that so early, I think, is that, in that time, someone might buy an NX, and then when Scorpio does come out half a year later, maybe that, I don't know. It just factors into it is all. But point being, Nintendo does have some opportunity here where it's that mid-life cycle kind of area where, a year or two ago, no one would have wanted to buy a new console that wasn't a PS4 or Xbox One. Right, you wouldn't be upgrading from those, but now it's getting to that point in the cycle where you're starting to get you might buy your slim model. Nowadays it's an upgraded model, but it's to that point, right? The console cycle I feel has always actually been 3 years because we always get an iteration, and most people upgrade shortly after that's released. But yeah, the launch lineup, I'm with you. Obviously, Breath of the Wild will be there, and probably ports of Smash. The problem with porting Mario Maker and Splatoon, for example, is and backwards compatibility in general is that how do you do that with the continued gimmicks that Nintendo uses? I mean, that you have another gamepad with the NX, with the touchscreen. I mean, how do you? They really limit themselves when they have these weird gimmicks and they want to do something different moving forward. So I don't know how exactly they're gonna work that. And it was weird with the Wii U, if you guys remember, like it was fully backwards compatible with the Wii, but you had to have like the Wii remote from the old Wii with your Wii U. There was a lot of weird intricacies that are a result of these gimmicks that they always put in their hardware. So I'm infinitely curious to see what the heck this thing is. But even my dream launch, everything I just described, I don't see this thing doing very well at all. I just don't think it can really do much. It should do better than the Wii U, I'd imagine, but it's not gonna. Definitely not going to be what they hope it will be.
Jordan, hit us with your NX reveal of dreams.
Okay, so first of all, I want to make a point. I'm going to be appearing on a podcast called A Link to Our Pasts. A Link to Our Pasts, yeah, is the exact wording. I want to make sure I got that right. And basically it's kind of talking about your gaming history and, where you came from. Obviously, we know on this podcast that I am a PlayStation dude, but as I'm going to be talking about on that podcast in the next couple weeks, I started out with Nintendo. My first console that I ever got was a hand-me-down from my dad. That was the NES. And then I got an N64, brand new. That was my first new console, my first console that I owned specifically. And then got a GameCube first before PS2 or Xbox because it was the cheapest, and that was how I got my parents to buy it for me. So up until then, once I got the PS2, I changed over to being mostly PlayStation. Of course, I had a Wii for a long time, had a Wii U shortly, had a DS for a long time, had a 3DS for a long time, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Color was actually the first console that was mine that I got new, but it's obviously a handheld, so not a console. Anyways, all that being said, I am super into Nintendo. I am super into Nintendo, even though I don't talk about it much, and I give them a lot of shit. That's where my gaming started. That's where I got into games and how I learned to love them. And I got that Game Boy Color and that NES when I was 4 years old. So I have deep roots in Nintendo. I know that was a long intro, but I wanted to say I talk a lot of shit about them, but I love Nintendo. And so my dream Nintendo reveal is really important to me because this would be the way that Nintendo reels me back in. And they have a lot of people that they need to reel back in if they want to be viable in the console space in the future. That's a big thing for me. With this NX launch, they're really going to have to prove themselves. I know that they're not in like financial trouble, and if it didn't sell well, it probably wouldn't be as bad as the Wii U, but if it didn't sell well, they could get through it and they could keep being Nintendo and move on, whatever. But in the eyes of gamers, if they screw this up, I think it's kind of over for them in a lot of ways.
As far as a console manufacturer, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just going to have so many people turn their backs. A lot of people already have, but this might be the final straw. So my dream is that, first of all, I don't think they would ever do it at Gamescom because, like I said, first of all, I don't think they have a big presence there. But Nintendo, I'm going to liken them to maybe... They probably haven't evolved into a Ninetales, but they're definitely a Vulpix. They like prancing around. They like being all pretty and being the center of attention. They're very gaudy. They're very arrogant. They're very much into being the belle of the ball, if you will. And so they're going to have their own event. They're going to blow this out. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I really think they want all eyes on them and they want the attention. They want to be the prom queen. So they're going to have their own event this fall. They need... maybe Metroid doesn't sell well. Maybe Animal Crossing and Pikmin don't sell well. But they need to get Nintendo fans back into buying Nintendo consoles because there's so many Nintendo fans that didn't buy the Wii U. A lot of people say, oh, the hardest of the hardcore bought the Wii U. Well, there's tons of Nintendo fans that didn't buy the Wii U. So whether it's this handheld home console hybrid or whatever, they have to get people back on their sides, and that all comes down to IP. Like I said, Pikmin, Metroid, if they had a Castlevania or something like that, that would be huge. They need those IP that people are going to say, wow, that's what I remember playing on my NES or my SNES. I love those old school Nintendo games, those old school properties. I want them to come back, and not just Mario Kart and Smash Brothers. Those are great. They're always going to sell well, but they need more stuff to entice more people. Second of all, I really, really, really want to see true third-party support. And I don't want, Ubisoft just making Raving Rabbids or Call of Duty bullshit Wii U edition or Madden All Play or what the fuck ever. I want these real, I don't want Mass Effect 3 2 years later or Batman Ultimate Edition, the Arkham game. I want, like you said, Mass Effect Andromeda. I want the
true
real
third-party support.
True third-party support. I want Battlefront on there. I want the real Call of Duty next year on there. I'm tired of these like half-assed ports because Nintendo makes a half-assed console, which leads me to my third point. I really, really, really want it to be powerful. It doesn't sound like it's going to be super powerful. A lot of people saying it's running at 900p, which is essentially a PS4 or Xbox One. That's about right. And I think that it would be great if it was a beefcake, if it was like the Scorpio, aka Big Boy. But they're probably not going to do that. So, my best hope is really that it's as powerful as the PS4, which I'll take it. It's honestly, once again, they're putting out an underpowered console way too late. But I would take it if...
What do you think the gimmick is?
There's my fourth point, Dom. I don't want any fucking gimmicks. Nintendo, make the NES, make the SNES, make a damn video game console.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a gimmick.
How awesome the NES and SNES were. Like, you didn't have... I mean, they had the expansions and stuff, but you really saw that with GameCube and N64, especially with these expansion packs and rumble packs and all these different modular things that you added to the console. I don't want that. I don't want gimmicks. I don't want... more Wii U. I want a fucking game console, man. I want a controller with buttons and sticks that doesn't, is one piece and isn't a nunchuck and a remote. Like, Nintendo, make a video game console and put some dope-ass games on there, and I'll buy it.
I think the gimmick is that instead of owning a PS4 and owning a Vita and having crossplay, they're like, we're going to put those two things together. So for $300, you get a mobile console that can also plug into your TV. I think they're taking...
If that was the gimmick, I'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool gimmick.
Also, I think all of us are in agreement here that we wanted to have some kind of achievement trophy system.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you done with your?
Oh no,
your
no. I didn't have too much else to say, but
okay.
Yeah, I do think they need to put their big boy pants on, have achievements, make sure it's 1080p, at least 30 frames a second. Make sure it's got a Blu-ray player. None of these mini discs. If you want to do cartridges, that's fine, but it better be SD and not some weird proprietary thing. I don't want. Those are, when you say gimmick, you're more talking about like a Wiimote or a touchpad, the gamepad, I mean, stuff like that. But the mini gimmicks, the whole, mini discs for GameCube or the Wii not having Blu-ray support and only being, 480p, stuff like that. The little things need to be in place, and it needs to at least be standard among the other consoles.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wii U can't even play
shit like that, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta
Isn't
like
that bizarre.
It has Wi-Fi, but you have to have an adapter just to plug in an Ethernet cord. Like, stuff like that is like, what the fuck?
See, the big issue they're going to have, too, as we're going to close out because we're running kind of long, the big issue, too, is that in everybody's mind, Nintendo is the secondary console. Everyone is going to buys a PS4 and Xbox One, and they're like, well, do I want the secondary console? No one ever goes out and says, the Nintendo console is going to be the first console I purchase. Nowadays, it's always a secondary console, So
that's okay. They can make a lot of money on that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that I
think that's their goal.
I don't really think that the NX is going to take away from Neo sales or Scorpio sales because I don't think that's where it's trying to compete because it knows it can't because it is the secondary. And I think that's why they have to go the gimmicky route as far as it being mobile is because they know they can't compete with the other consoles and add the other facet. They have to have something where, why should I buy an NX? Oh, because I can take my NX with me. You can't take your Xbox with you. You can partially take your PS4 with you with a Vita, kind of. But you know what I mean? I think that's what they're relying on is they need to be different enough because they know they can't compete with those two.
So to me, I mean, there's two things, I guess. Like, what I really want them to just release something along like as powerful as the Neo, and that's it. And it's just a console, it's a box, but you get Nintendo's IPs on it. That's what I would want. But that's, to me, that's kind of like, that's the easy answer, and that's not what makes like humans cool. Like, we try new things, and like if that's what every console generation was, then we would never get new things. Like, there never used to be shoulder buttons or analog sticks until someone was crazy enough to try it, and it probably sounded as ridiculous as VR sounds now, or as some of the other stuff like the Wii Waggle and the Wii U touchscreen. Like, yeah, a lot of the times it's wrong and it was a bad idea most of the time. But you have to do, like, you can't succeed without multiple failures, right? Like, that's kind of what drives the industry forward, in every industry, really. I mean, you have to try new things, otherwise it's never going to get.
It's time to reel it in, though. It's time to give me a controller with analog sticks and shit like that.
Well, they've had gimmicks that have worked in the past, but they need to. This is the one where their gimmick needs to work. It's going to have a gimmick, we all know that, but it needs to be the gimmick that works. I don't think it won't have a gimmick, but it needs to be the gimmick that works. So let's close out the show real quick, get really quick into what we're going to be playing, and then we'll close out the show. We ran kind of long. We had a lot of awesome topics today. For me, I really don't know what I'm going to be playing. I need to get into Red Dead. I wasn't able to play it this week. I'm almost into Mexico. If you guys are familiar with the game, you know kind of where I'm at then. For how fun it is to run by people and rope them and drag them behind your horse. It is a great time. That game is, just playing that game gets me excited for the next Red Dead game. Smite, Overwatch. There was something else I was going to start playing, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, so Red Dead pretty much. What about you guys? Oh, and I'm going to finish Stranger Things. So.
Yeah, so I mentioned on the podcast before that I'm going to be reviewing Bastion and Gravity Rush for Vita. Those will go up this weekend. And then also I wanted to mention the fact that I talked last week that I didn't beat Persona, so I would be shaving my beard and my head, which I am actually going to do, man of my word. But since we are in a new chapter of the Controlled Interest saga, and we are doing a video podcast now, I wanted to go ahead and have this hair and beard for the audience to see, if they wanted to go back or whatever. So you'd have the before and after. So next week, yes, I will be a baby sheep without any wool. Anyways, on to what I'm playing, whatever. Probably finish up Harry Potter. I got Star Wars Dark Disciple in, which is a book I've been anticipating a lot. I was waiting till paperback came out. And that is a story that is from unproduced episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Once that got canceled, so the team could move on to Star Wars Rebels. They had this story for Asajj Ventress, who is one of my favorite Jedi, right up next to Ahsoka Tano, who's also getting her own novel this year. And Quinlan Voss is also in there. He's another Grey Jedi. Grey Jedi are basically people that have fallen from the Order and are not Sith. They're kind of dark and light at the same time. Very excited to read that book. Finishing up Goblet of Fire, as I said earlier. Stranger Things, I am going to finish up the second half, probably watching some here in a bit. I'm loving that show so much, man, and can't wait for the finale. And then as far as what I'm playing, it's definitely time for me to hop back in The Witcher. It's been more than a week or so since I played that. And yeah, I just kind of need to play more games this week because I really haven't played much at all. And then watching, I want to give a shout out. We were talking about scratching that Game of Thrones itch because Game of Thrones is over. Obviously, I played the Telltale game, but now I am watching the show Outlander on Starz, and that is based off of the recommendation of George Railroad Martin himself, who said that Outlander totally got snubbed by not getting Emmy nominations. So decided to check that out. It's about this girl that gets taken from World War II Britain back to the 1700s and has to live among these Scottish dudes. I have a lot of Scottish ancestry, and so I've always wanted to go there. It's really just Great Britain in general is really cool and a lot of beautiful vistas. So enjoying that show quite a bit. That is my next week.
Awesome. Dom, what are you playing?
So, I need to finish Skyward Sword. Manda just entered the very last dungeon, so not too much left in that one. It's been interesting. I'm certainly glad I played it, but once I wrap that up, then I'll just get back into Syndicate. So
Are
really
you looking forward to
Skyward
it though?
Sword is kind
Are
of
you
a
actually
chore.
into Syndicate, or are you just not feeling it?
Oh no, I'm liking it a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe once you start getting the feel of that hook, the grapple or whatever, that makes you you can just zip around the town.
Yeah, I've started using it. It's nice. It's fun.
I think that map is one of the more interesting maps in Assassin's Creed games too. It seems more alive to me.
London is gorgeous in that game.
Yeah. So as always, here's the closing spiel. If you guys are listening to us, please try to share us with as many people as you can. Even if you have 10 people following you on Twitter, one person sees that and follows us. We're trying to grow as much as we can. Don't worry if you don't have a lot of followers or you don't have a lot of friends on Facebook or anything like that. Just sharing us, period, helps. Follow us.
Jared,
Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, based off of that specifically, since we're moving into video now, we've just moved past 20 YouTube subscribers. That I noticed that this week. And so I really wanted to push the fact, now that we have 20, I want all of our YouTube subscribers and even our SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play subscribers to make sure they share a bunch and try to get us out there. I want to, now that we've hit 20, I'd love to push to 50, just kind of like we did with our Twitter followers not too long ago. So get us out there, man. Hit us, share us with your friends and let them know who we are if you like us. And if you are subscribed to us maybe on audio but not video or vice versa, then go to those places and subscribe, especially YouTube. So
yeah,
for one, we can get 100 YouTube subscribers and then get our own URL.
Awesome.
Build it brick by brick, 20 to 50 to 100. We'll be at 1 million before you know it, boys.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely try to, if you listen to us on iTunes, this is the way you're gonna take the podcast, give us a like and a rating if you have the time to. It really helps us. Also through Twitter, if you just tweet out our episodes or something like that, hashtagging anything like that would be greatly appreciated. We're growing slowly but surely.
Yay!
Lastly, I want to give a shout out to a link to our pasts, which is the podcast Jordan talked about earlier, which is a podcast where he interviews people talking about their gaming history. He's going to be going on that show pretty soon, so definitely check out that. We'll definitely tweet that out when it happens. Going to be closing out. I want to say one last thing. Awesome General Thrawn is canon now.
Grand Admiral.
Grand Admiral, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm not too familiar with the character, but he looked cool, so it seemed like people were excited. When I heard that announcement and people were up in a buzz about it, I'm not a huge Star Wars guy, but I looked into it and he's a really cool character. So it's really cool that they made him canon.
Dude, so much awesome news just came out of Star Wars Celebration. I was all over that.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us in our first ever video podcast if you're watching us on YouTube.
Woohoo!
So any closing words, guys?
Beyond audio into the realm of full color 3D motion video.
We're like Dorothy.
Yes, we ain't in Kansas no more.
You're right. Alrighty, catch you guys in episode 22. Bye.